Welcome back to Employed People. We have a very special guest today. I'd like to welcome my girlfriend Liz onto the show. She is a manager at an athletic apparel store. She's going to be giving us a behind-the-scenes look at the really annoying customers she deals with every day and some of the crazier aspects of the job, like what to do when the store is being robbed. Very intense stuff. Thanks again for joining us. Please welcome Liz, the clothing store manager. Well, Liz, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
No, I haven't. Have you?
I've hosted a couple of them now. You're I think my third. So that's really exciting. So tell me about your job as a clothing store manager. I know I'm not going to get into what company you work for, but I want to talk about what kind of clothing is sold there. What kind of clothing?
It is a luxury athletic wear brand that I am a manager at.
And so is it like the kind of place that you could find at a shopping mall? If I walked into like a Westfield mall, could I find one?
Yes. Yeah. It's a location that you can find in like the average shopping mall.
Okay, but you can tell me what things cost. Like if a woman was going to buy like a pair of leggings there, how much would that cost?
I will say they tend to be on the higher side when it comes to the monetary value. The average pair of leggings, the cheapest pair you can get is starting at $100.
That's the cheapest one?
Yeah, and it'll go up to $150.
Okay, so that my next question is when you're in there, what is the kind of person that comes in there to shop? What do they look like? What are they like? Do they seem snobby or do they seem,
Yeah, I would say the target demographic that comes in is teenagers to I would say people in their early 20s. I'd also say a lot of moms come in as well. It's mostly as I said before, we do sell luxury athletic wear, and our pants tend to be the highest selling product that we have.
Big pants store.
Yeah.
Just a disclaimer: if you hear a cat meowing in here, we have a cat in the studio with us today. He'll be making some comments. He has a lot of things to say about this clothing brand, so we're gonna welcome his comments when he decides to make some. Yep. I want to ask first about the interview process. Did you apply online or did you walk into a store and say, hey, give me a job?
I applied online.
Okay. And did you apply to a lot of clothing stores before you got something?
I applied to a wide variety of jobs. I had just moved to this area a couple of months prior, and I honestly just wanted to apply to somewhere where a lot of people my age would be working, so I could get to, one, know the city better, and two, make some friends. And I thought that this current location would be the perfect place for that to happen.
Okay, so once you went in there, did they make you do multiple rounds of interviews, you were a programmer or something, or did you do one interview and they were you're hired?
Yeah. The first interview is just a 10 to 15 minute phone call, getting to know you and your interests. And then should that go well, you get a second interview, which is learning more about your experience, and you're asked a handful of scenario questions. You can pull from your retail experience, or you can pull from any other sorts of leadership experience you may have. And then, if that goes well, you have a final interview with the store manager, and, they'll then ask you a few more behavioral based questions. And then, should that go well, you get a phone call, and that's what happened to me. After a week or so, after I want to say 3 weeks, one interview per week, I finally got a call back saying that I had gotten the job.
What a scenario question? Let's take an example of that.
One example was name a time that you had to give feedback to one of your team members. What was the situation? How did they handle it? And what could you learn from it in the future?
Did you even rehearse that, or just go in being I got this?
I didn't rehearse at all. I tend to not practice for interviews at all.
Okay, how does that go?
It tends to go really well because I do love talking.
Oh,
so
okay.
when I go into an interview, I'm honestly somewhat prepared for any question.
Because you're just yapping?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. All right, well, so what I actually want to dive into after I got through that is I want to talk about theft.
Awesome.
And this is a really big thing that I've heard you talk about before in the times we've talked about your job, because you work at a store where clothing is pretty expensive, and it's sought after. I think people were trying to either resell it or just, take it for their own use.
Yep.
So I've heard you talk a lot about shoplifting. Like, a lot of people come in, and so I don't want to take away your thunder in the storytelling, but you've told me some wild stories about theft, and I would like to hear something about that. Like, how often does that happen? What happens? Like, what's the protocol when it does happen?
Yeah.
And so tell me about that.
Yeah, so shoplifting is very heavily prevalent in my store. It tends to either happen early in the morning or late at night, right as we're about to close. It can be as discreetly as, like, they're pretending to be shopping, and they'll even go as far as to, like, buy a few things so that you, like, lose suspicion, and only for it to be that, like, they, like, stole a couple things in the fitting room and, like, decensored them. Other times, it's much more extreme. Someone will come in with a large reusable bag and just stuff entire cubbies full of pants into their bag and just run out like you just witnessed, like, a bank robbery or something. Yeah, it's actually crazy the amount of theft that goes on here.
So when you notice someone shoplifting, I'm sure you've seen someone shoplifting and just been like, oh, okay, there it is.
Yeah.
But what do you do in that moment? Are you allowed to confront them?
Yeah.
Or are you allowed but not advised to? Or what's how do you handle that?
Right. So it's funny that you say that, because when it first happened, it was actually my first day. Like, someone just came in and stole a bunch of cubbies of pants and left the store. And, like, when that first started happening, I would just, like, freeze in my spot and just, like, I wouldn't know what to do. I was absolutely, like, dumbstruck. But now that it happens, per company policy, we are not allowed to confront them, accuse them of anything. In fact, we're supposed to treat them like any normal guest. Like, my managers tell us to, like, go up to them and ask if we can, like, it goes so far as to ask if they need help with anything.
Yeah.
But then, depending on the value of how much they steal, every theft that happens, we have to file a report to send to our asset protection team. But if it surpasses, like, a monetary value, I want to say of, like, $800 or higher, that's when we're advised to call the police.
Yeah, like, in the moment or after they leave?
After they leave. Because it's technically, like, per our company policy, it's not considered shoplifting until after they've left the store with unpaid merchandise.
Okay, so but are there like security cameras? So, like, are there security cameras but they don't actually work?
There are security cameras and they do work. We just don't have access to them.
Really? So no one in the store can actually pull up the footage?
Only our, like, asset protection team, which I don't even know where they work. Like, I don't want to say corporate, but, like, at an undisclosed location, only they have access to our security cameras.
I'm just sort of trying to ask you these questions so I can, more effectively steal.
Right.
I just want to understand how to get that done without getting caught. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
But so my question is that you've had this happen so many times. Like, have you actually had to call the police yourself to be like, hey, there's people stealing?
Yes. It's so funny that you asked that. My first ever leadership shift, like, as floor manager, I had to call the police. But yeah, when it's situations like that, it tends to be the floor leaders that call the police. So I tend to call 911 multiple times.
You have to call 911?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I call 911 multiple times per week.
And, like, has it gotten, like, was it scary the first time you had to do it?
It was so scary. That had been, like, I had never called 911 before.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had to be like, oh, someone's stealing from my store.
Exactly. Yeah, I was a stuttering mess. Like, I was so intimidated.
I think the first time I ever called 911 is I got rear-ended in my car, and I remember...
Classic.
I called my dad first because I didn't even know what to do. And the guy who hit me, like, pulled over.
Yeah.
But I remember I was like, Dad, I don't know what to do. He's like, dude, call the police, bro. I can't help you, bro. Like, I don't understand why you're calling me. And I was like, oh, you're right. Sorry, Dad. I was probably like 17, I think. And so my hands are shaking calling 911 because I think they're going to make fun of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm calling 911 and then I think my inclination is they're just going to be like, okay, who's getting murdered?
Right.
Or like, whose house is burning down? And I was like, someone hit me with their car. Well, and I thought they were going to make fun of me, but I realized that that's just their job. And, like, they do this all the time. So has it gotten easier to call 911?
Yes, it absolutely
Okay.
has. Yeah, I also had the similar mindset as you when I first started calling. My mind just started replaying me like all the shows like on the ID channel I've watched of
Yeah.
like people being like murdered and stabbed in their homes.
Yeah.
So that was what I was going into when like I had to like I was faced with calling 911. But now it's like I'm calling my mom or something. Like I
Yeah.
dial 911 and I'm like, yeah, hey, someone just like stole a bunch from our store again.
I would love, I mean, I don't want to make this not about you, but now that you're saying this, I would love to talk to a 911 operator and ask them if they, because I have a theory that I think most of their stuff is probably not, it's probably dumb stuff.
Right.
Or like minor stuff and not like, I'm being murdered, please help. But maybe I'm wrong. But I have to imagine, like, do they sound annoyed when you're saying shoplifting, or do they just sound like normal?
No, it just sounds like we're having a normal conversation. Like, I'll be like, hey, we just got hit at our store. And they're like, okay, like, can you give me a description of the person? How much did they steal? Where did they go?
Okay.
And then, like, after I give them all the information, they're like, all right, we sent a police car on their way. They should be over to talk to you shortly.
And how long did it take for them to show up?
It can be as short as, like, 30 seconds. Like,
Really?
Otherwise, like, the police might not even come that night. Like,
Oh, okay, like it's not high priority.
right.
Maybe it depends on what else they're doing at the time.
Yeah, I also, like, sometimes there are multiple hits within, like, the radius of my
You call it a
store.
hit? That's so like,
Yeah.
that's so metal. That store just got hit, you know? Like,
Yeah. Like, sometimes we get to the point where, like, other stores will call us and be like, hey, like, the, like, mall next to your store just got hit really bad. Like, be on the lookout
Oh, so
for...
other stores will like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you work on a pretty popular street in this city.
I do.
You know, obviously not going to say which one, but it's like a big street. Like a lot of tourists will probably walk through. I'm sure people will. So my question is like, do you know if there's like security for that area? Like, is your street? This street has a bunch of stores on it. Is that considered like a mall, or is that just like a free for all? Like, is there a mall that owns the buildings, or every store for itself?
It tends to be, like, every store for themselves. Like, there's another, luxury athletic wear brand, like, directly next to us, and they have their own, like, police officer. Like, it's very,
They have a store cop.
yeah, like,
Okay.
he, like, has, like, a weapon and everything.
Nice.
And, like, we have our own guy, but he's much more chill. Like,
He's not a cool dude. He doesn't get a taser.
Yeah, no. Because, again, like my store's policy is that they don't want any of us to get involved for like personal safety.
Okay.
So
yeah.
he's more so there to like talk to the police when things go wrong and like file reports and stuff.
Dude, I could do that job.
Yeah. But no. But it's also it's like it's a very touristy area of the city I live in. It's not a lot of like locals come into it. It's very like much a tourist hotspot. But most of the buildings are owned by one person.
Oh, so it's like a rich person.
Yeah, it's a very wealthy area.
Well, I was gonna say because you don't work in a shopping mall, and I know that when I worked at a mall,
Yeah.
A few years ago, I remember the mall had its own security. So like if there was a theft or something, we didn't call the police, we called mall security.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's not an option for you guys because there is no street security for the street that you're on. You just have to call the police.
Correct. Yeah. That's the one place we call.
I mean, that makes sense. But I was going to say, I mean, you've been through it so many times now, the whole shoplifting thing. Like, can you like kind of eyeball like when someone comes in, like, oh, they're walking funny, dude. They're definitely here for some trouble.
Absolutely.
You know, you can tell by the way they walk or something, or who they came in with, or like they came in with like a backpack, you know.
Honestly, yeah. Like sometimes just you can always like get a sense. Like I don't know if it's like God or something telling me, but like they come in through the front door and I'm like, I know you're about to steal like an entire rack of like sweatshirts right now.
Like an ocular pat down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is that like? Have you ever been wrong? Have you ever like been like that guy's definitely here to steal and then he didn't?
No.
You're always right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's also like the only time I'm ever like somewhat wrong is like there's like this like known group of kids like that go down this street that I work on. They all wear like a certain type of backpack that's like owned by another athletic wear company. And they tend to go for like hot spots in our store. So they'll come in one big group. They'll like grab everything that's like popular for our store, they'll go up to the fitting rooms, and then like they like one of them in the group will have like a desensor. So like
and so what is that? Is that so? Okay, so if I have this right, there's like a little tag that they put on clothing and stuff, and then when you walk through the door and the tag is still on, the alarm will go crazy, and that's a sensor?
Correct.
Okay, so you have a tool to take the sensor off.
Yeah, we have one, like, obviously when people purchase our merchandise, but, like, you can buy one of those things off, like, Amazon.
A desensor?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like, I guess it's like, I don't know. I remember asking my mom when I was little, I was like, how does the store sensor, like, or the little alarm thing you walk through when you leave the store? I was like, how does it know when you've bought something and when you haven't? And she was like, if it doesn't have a sensor on the item, it won't know. Like, they don't have a magic thing that's going to scan and see if this box of, Cheetos you just got, or this bag of Cheetos has like they're not just going to magically know. There's a sensor on some items and not on others. So my question is everything in your store censored, or there's some things that aren't?
Yeah, everything is censored.
Everything.
Yeah.
So if I bought like something stupid, like if I bought like one of those like little things you buy before checkout, like that has a sensor on it?
Yeah.
Even the stuff that's like I don't know. I was going to say even the stuff that has a couple dollars, but I don't know if anything there is actually a couple dollars. What's like the lowest priced item you have?
The lowest priced item we have is like a 1 pack of socks, and those retail at about $14.
Dude, oh. Because I know like sometimes some stores will keep cheap stuff at the front, and I'm like, isn't that going to get stolen? But I realize it doesn't matter, because some of the cheap stuff at the front is like $1, so like getting stolen is not a big deal. But I recognize at your store the cheapest thing is $14, which that's wild to me.
Yeah, well, that's interesting that you say that, because like those kids with the backpacks that I was telling you about, like they'll like go in the fitting rooms and like desensor everything. Which, by the way, like I always like we can hear when the sensor drops, but they try and like fake it with the cough. And it's like, you're not fooling me, dude. Like, I just heard the sensor drop on the floor. I've been working here. I know what that sounds like. But another thing they do is like they'll just walk right up to you at the cash register, like steal a couple keychains and then put it on their backpack as if like nothing happened.
So they sell keychains.
We sell keychains.
And those aren't censored.
Those are censored.
Those are censored?
They have a different type of sensor, but
man, I can't steal anything at this store.
Well, yes, you can, because
apparently I can.
These kids steal them every day, and they don't give a single fuck about like the sensor going up. These kids will vape in front of me, and I'm like, hey man, you can't do that. And they're like, oh really? Oh, by the way, 10 of your keychains are gone.
I wanted to ask about that. You actually guessed my next topic, because I said, what is something you have to do in the store that's grounds for like kicking them out? And I was like, because I always thought to myself, I was like, has anyone ever like drank in the store, like they like pulled out a beer or something, or has anyone like smoked? And because you're saying they're vaping, and so what is like something that you have to do in the store to get kicked out?
It honestly involves a lot. There have been people that have been very like heavily intoxicated in our store and just like pass out in the fitting rooms.
They fall asleep in there?
Yeah, and we have to like call the police to have them escorted out, because they'll refuse to leave our premises. Okay. We tend to do this thing where we have to like where we ask them nicely, like if it's like a very angry customer, like cussing out at cash, or someone's like very heavily like distraught like on the sales floor, we can like first ask them nicely, like please leave, ask them again but much more firmly, like, hey, we are requesting that you please leave. And then if they still don't, then it's like a tell, like you need to leave their store. And then if that still doesn't go well, then we have to like call the police and have them like escort them out. Do you think
is there ever a day where the police do not get called, or is that every single day, you think?
There's a few times where they don't get called. Like it really is a hit or miss. Like there'll be an entire week where the police aren't called and it's like a very chill week, and then otherwise we get hit like 3 times a day, and the police are just like at some point they just like station themselves outside our store.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was always wondered, I was like, if does anyone just like open like a White Claw and just start like, does anyone like shotgun a beer like in a clothing store? I figure they probably wouldn't.
No.
Does anyone smoke a cigarette in there?
No one's ever smoked a cigarette in there. It's mostly
Yeah.
like teenagers vaping in there, and I have to be like, you can't vape.
Yeah, I've noticed. I was like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, the youths are, but I'm just saying, like, I think there was a lot of people in our age range or younger that kind of just assumed you could vape anywhere.
Right.
And the concept of, like, you can't smoke here just didn't get through to them. Like, I remember I had some friends in high school, they got kicked out of a movie theater for vaping. I was like, why did you think you could vape in here, dude? Like, you're basically hotboxing the theater at this point.
I know, like, do we not have, like, common sense to, like, deduct that, oh, I'm in a public space where other people are?
It said no smoking, because obviously it's like, yeah, but I thought that was, like, cigarettes.
Like, what's the difference?
Aside from people, like, committing a crime, like, you probably get a lot of annoying customers that aren't committing a crime, they're just being annoying,
Yeah. I mean, I would honestly consider that to be a crime, annoying me, but yeah, no, I see what you mean.
I remember I used to work at this mall I worked at a few years ago. I worked at a clothing, it was an athletic clothing store. I mean, they sold clothing, but it was predominantly a shoe store, but, same difference. My least favorite thing was these people would come up to me and they would buy shoes or, whatever, and they would check out. I would, do the whole thing. I'd print the receipt and I would give it to them. I'd say, have a nice day. And they'd say, hold on, you guys don't have veterans discount, do you? I was like, we do, but I wish you would ask me that maybe 60 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, yeah, I have my ID with me. I'm so sorry. Like, my husband's in the Navy. Like, I have veteran. I was like, dude. Because what I got to do at that point is I have to refund the entire order in front of them, and then I have to check them out again. And that takes longer than ringing somebody up. A refund is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And you got to get the manager to, like, approve it. And if you're listening to this and you have any kind of disability discount, veterans discount, anything like that, please tell them as soon as you have it. Don't wait until you've checked out. Like, that was the worst thing, is that everybody would do it. And then they would get mad if it took too long. And I was like, I'm refunding your order.
Right.
It's going to take a minute. But so what is, like, that was my biggest pet peeve, is when that would happen. Yeah. And like you said, there would be weeks where no one would do that, and there'd be a day where it happened 4 times. So my question is, like, what is the most annoying thing a customer can do without committing a legal crime?
Oh, well, in regards to discount, I tend to have an opposite problem. Like, they'll come up to the cash register and just like, no, hello, no, how are you? They're like, I have a healthcare worker discount. You need to add it to my order. And I'm like, okay, can you give me literally any information? And then they're like appalled that you even asked that.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you ask for my information so that, like, I can give you this discount. But there's also, like, our discount policy, like, we have it for, like, first responders, people in the military. We also have it for people that are, like athletic instructors, like, if you're, like, a student athlete. But the thing is, like, you can only use the discount for yourself, and you have to be present. So, like, sometimes people will be like, hey, like, my dad's in the military, can I get the discount? And I'm like, no, your dad has to physically be here. And they're like,
have some sort of ID.
Yeah, they're like, well, what if I show you a picture of him on my Instagram? And I'm like, does that count as him being here? Like, last I checked, that's not the case. But the most annoying thing, honestly, is we have this thing where, like, we have, like, a warranty on our products where if it's like within a certain time frame and something is default with our product, like, we will replace it for you for free. But people tend to abuse that.
Oh, of course.
And they'll lie. They'll be like, I bought this within the past couple of months and there's, like, mysteriously bleach stains on it.
Might have been you.
And I have to be like, you understand that this is, like, a personal use issue and not, like, a default, like a defective product that we sent to you, correct? And then, like, that tends to escalate things. Like, the worst experience I ever had was that somebody gave me a yoga mat, like, covered front, like, top to bottom.
And you sell yoga mats?
We sell yoga mats.
Oh, because they're doing return. I thought they were just giving it to you for no reason.
No.
Hi, it's so nice to shop your head. Do you want this yoga mat?
No. So we sell yoga mats, and this one woman came up to me with the yoga mat covered top to bottom in, like, these, like, highlighter yellow stains. And she's like, I absolutely hate your yoga mat. Every time I use it, there's stains everywhere. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Is it like, could it by any chance, like, I'm so sorry, this might come off as rude, but, like, do you think it's maybe, like, sweat stains? And she's like, I don't sweat at all, and I know it's not my makeup, and I know it's not my spray tan, because that's never happened to me before. So in my mind, I'm thinking, it absolutely is all of those combined. And so I'm like, I'm sorry, this is, like, because of personal use, and therefore I cannot replace this for you. And she, like, continued to call me ridiculous, and that I offered her the worst customer service of her entire life.
Okay.
She runs out the door. We have like the exact same store that I work at, like right across the street from where I work. So she went over there. She told me they were much more nicer. Well, she ended up getting it replaced, and then she came back, demanded to speak to me directly.
Okay.
And said that I need to re-educate myself on my store's policies.
Okay.
Before I give her, like, that terrible a guest service.
I think but I think what happened was that store was probably like, fuck it, let's just get this lady out of here.
Right.
Like, the policy probably says you probably can't return that. Because I remember, my manager at this old store, he made a lot of concessions like that. He just did not feel like putting up with anybody's shit, and he didn't really care about the company's profits. So he was like, dude, if they want to return, I'm not going to fucking, like, get into a fight with this guy. Or, like, this one time, he was very lax with the discount. Like, we had a senior discount. If you were over the age of 60 or 65, we could give you a senior discount. Like, no matter what. But you're supposed to check their ID and check their birth date or, something like that. But this guy asked for a senior discount, and I remember I didn't really know how that worked. No one had ever asked for that before. So I pulled over my manager, and I was like, hey, dude, like, can I give this guy a senior discount? Like, how do I check? How do I verify that? He's like, is he old? Does he look old? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, then fucking just give it to him.
Right.
But yeah, he just didn't care. Like, if someone was like, yeah, I don't like the way I don't like the color of these shoes. Like, how long ago did you buy them? Like, a year. It's like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't care. So I'm not sure that was the best move, but I think that's probably what the other store was doing. Was like, get this lady out the door as soon as possible.
Well, now, like, especially now that I've been here, like, long enough, that's kind of the point where I'm at. Like, anything to get the person out of the store so, like, I don't have to deal with them is better. Like, I'll be like, sure. You bought this 3 years ago, fine. Like, oh, you want to return this just because you don't like the fabric, fine. Like,
yeah, I mean, I understand that, like, people get very upset about these things, and I think anybody who thinks that people aren't like that, just try working a month in retail, and you will probably see the worst of customers.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to ask was, when I worked at this other store, I remember they gave me, like, whenever I was doing cashier, I had to ask for their, like, email because they wanted me to, like, sign them up for the rewards program, right?
Right.
And they would have me, like, doing MLM scams on these people, man. Like, because obviously nobody really wants to do that.
Right.
And you can try to convince them, like, oh, yeah, you get 15% off of, like, all your next orders or something.
Yeah.
But, like, I think the only thing people cared about in the moment is, like, wait, do I get a discount today, right now?
Yeah.
And if the answer to that was no, then they didn't want to sign up for your emails or whatever. But I started asking every time they checked out, I was like, hey, do you want to sign up for our rewards program? You'll get discounts on, like, all future purchases, and you'll get points, stuff like that. And everyone would say no. And I'd be like, well, they said no. I mean, I asked and they said no. I mean, what else am I supposed to do?
Right.
And my manager was like, no. Like, and this was not the chill manager. This was the uptight manager. He was like, nah, dude, okay, so here's what you got to do. You have to just ask them for their email because they'll probably just give it to you, and then you'll just automatically sign them up. And I was like, I feel like that's, like, illegal or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, just do it. Like, we have a quota to make.
Yeah.
And so my question is, like, when you're doing cashier, do you have to do that?
Yes.
You have to sign them up. And do you hate it?
Sometimes, depending on the person. I will say, like, 9 times out of 10, like, the people that come into our store, they have memberships with us.
Okay, so they're already in. They've already drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, you can sign up online. You can sign up in the store. All it takes is a phone number and an email. It's very easy.
Okay.
I will say too, like, I'll always ask, like, are you a healthcare worker? Are you, like, a yoga instructor?
They told me never to volunteer the discounts. They told me if they ask for a discount and they have proof, they can have it, but they're like, never tell them about the discounts up front. And I was like, that sucks, dude. Like,
yeah. Oh, see, I do, because, like, then that point, it's like an incentive. Like, oh, maybe I should sign up then.
Oh, okay.
But Sometimes, like, I have terrible hearing, like, when I'm at cash and it's like I'm listening to the person in front of me, the music is blasting.
Yeah.
And then there tends to be these like TikTok influencers outside my store that like to sing a lot.
I was going to ask about street performers because I know that a lot of people do that outside your store, and I was going to ask if that causes problems for you guys.
Yes.
Like there's drummers and there's singers.
Yeah, there's drummers, there's singers. They put it at volume 100. The cops will tell them to turn it down. They do not listen.
Okay.
So like when all that's going on and then like a guest is trying to, like a customer is trying to tell me their email phone number, I'm like, this is the most overstimulating thing I've ever been through. Yeah. Like I'd rather eat glass than try and hear what this person's email is. Like,
eat glass.
Yeah.
No, actually I was gonna say that was I had a lot of trouble with that because I worked at this other clothing store in like it was like early 2021.
Yeah.
And there was a mask policy. Everyone in the mall wore masks, and I had no problem with that. But the thing I didn't realize was going to be so hard was I didn't realize how helpful it was, like when you're in a loud environment, like seeing somebody's lips move.
Yeah.
Like if we're in a noisy restaurant, let's say you and I can kind of hear you, but it's loud, I didn't realize like how helpful it is to see your lips move.
Yeah.
Because I can piece it together. But when I could not see their mouth and it was loud and they weren't speaking clearly, I would have to ask for, I would say like cash or credit like 9 times because I don't know what they're saying. Right. Because I would say cash or credit and they'd be like, what? And so I can't ask them to pull the mask down or anything. So I'm just like, just sign language it to me, bro. Like please, like write it down.
Right.
But no, I was gonna ask about how noisy it gets with street performers because the worst part is, I've noticed on this street, all the street performers pick the spot that's like right outside the store.
Yes.
It's not. There's a whole strip of stores to go down, and they pick the spot that's right in front of your store.
Yes.
And that must be really, really noisy.
Yes, and it doesn't help either that they play the same 3 songs. So, like, I can't tell you, like, it's near the end of your shift, you're so tired, you're so overstimulated, and you have to hear Fly Me to the Moon for the 5th time that day in, like, a 2-hour span. Like,
I got really sick of the songs they would play on the speaker at this store or any restaurant I've ever worked at. They had, like, 15 or 20 songs that they had approved to play at the store, and they just played them on repeat, and, for a while, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to learn all the words. And then after, like, your, 20th shift, you're like, I need to die. Like, please release me from this. Like, if I hear one of these songs, I'm going to have, like, a sleeper agent, like, crash out. Right.
Well, the thing about my store that's nice is that, like, there are several... we have an app on our, like, work devices that is, like, our, like, music station. So, like, we can pick from many different playlists. And I have a favorite. It's like a festival, like house, like club mix.
Okay.
So that place I actually don't get sick of because like it's all just instrumental. So it's fun to just like run like walk around the store and like listen to
you feel like you're in a movie.
Right. Yeah, and I can like dance a little bit. So
the last thing I wanted to ask about was what do you get out of this? Like, do you get a sick employee discount, or do they just like you don't give you anything?
I do get a very nice discount. We're not allowed to share what that discount is, but I will say it's like very generous.
Okay, so it's like it's worthwhile.
It's worthwhile. You also, we also get access to like free like gym classes and everything.
Oh wow! Okay.
It's the benefits at this job are very, very nice. Like they're probably the nicest benefits I've ever had. Nice. So I will say like. It is a very difficult process to get this job, but once you get this job, like you
get something out of it.
Yeah, you get something out of it. It's worth it.
I've noticed a lot of the clothing that you've worn has been from this company, and I'm wondering how much had you already owned? Like have you bought a lot of things since you've started working there?
Yes, it has now become my entire wardrobe.
Okay. I remember when I worked at my old clothing store, like I loved the discounts so much that like any item of clothing I would just buy that store's version of it.
Yeah.
Just because it was way, way cheaper.
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you have any other I want to give you the floor for a minute to tell me any kind of story you want to tell from this job if you can think of one.
Okay.
And then that'll be that, but I just want to give you the floor if you have like some crazy story from the day that you want to share.
Yeah, well, first I just want to say, be nice to your friends in retail. I just say being nice goes a long way. Like, if you're so nice to me, but what you're asking is, like, extremely out of our policy, like, as long as you're nice to me, I'll do literally anything you fucking ask. Like, like, yeah, by the way, like, steal some product for us on the way out. It's on me. Like, I'm just saying, like, being nice goes a long way. But the craziest story that I'll share is, it was, right before Christmas, and it was like very cold, snowy night, in the city that I live in. We were understaffed. I was currently, like, it was like an hour before we closed. So, like, we were all just ready to, like, pack it up and, like, get, like, through our inventory for the night. So, like, a half hour before close, someone comes in and they have, like, a $2,000 return that they're looking to make.
$2,000.
And I can tell that it's a fraudulent return because, one, it's a bunch of different pairs of the same pant in different sizes.
Oh, so you're saying they stole it.
Right.
And then now they're trying to return it for
right.
money, free
It
money.
still had the sensors on.
Got it. Okay.
They had no proof of purchase.
That guy didn't even try, dude. Like...
Right. Like, I was like, make it at least somewhat believable.
Yeah.
So while I'm dealing with that, and again, like, our product is expensive, but, like, I don't think you understand what $2,000 worth of, like, pants is. Like, how many pairs of
that's
pants
probably
that's
like
returning.
3 pairs of pants at this store.
Right. I mean, sure.
Kidding.
No, so, like, this woman hands me 2 large shopping bags full of these, like, stolen pants. So I'm, like, trying to, like, quote-unquote process this return. Meanwhile, 3 people come into the store and they just scatter.
Oh, you're dealing with theft and then there's, like, more theft. Like,
right. Like,
maybe that was part of the plan. Maybe that was, like, a coordinated attack.
Yeah, it was, like, their whole master plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one guy, he just, like, completely steals, like, an entire rack of product and leaves the store. I'm like, all right. This other guy, he's, like, in the store for a while. He's, like, going through all the things. He's, like, throwing clothes everywhere. He's totally, like, messing up our pant walls and everything. Mm-hmm. But then he eventually leaves with his stolen product. And then this one lady who, in my opinion, was the craziest of them all, she's, like, pretending to shop. And she's also doing the same thing as, like, this second guy, where she's, like, throwing product everywhere. She's demanding us to hold it. She's telling, like, some of my team members about how she was recently incarcerated and has just been released.
That's a show of confidence.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Making everyone in the store uncomfortable. She's, like, absolutely screaming at us if things don't go her way. So at this point, I'm like, we need to call the police. So after I handled this fraudulent return, I called the police just saying that there are 3 individuals in the store that are making us very uncomfortable. 2 of them have already left, but the last one is just, like, wreaking havoc in our store. Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, while all of this is going down, like, this lady's screaming to the point where she's making one of my team members so uncomfortable. I have to hide her in, like, the office.
Do you mean... your coworker?
I had to hide my coworker in the office.
Okay,
Because, like, at this point, I was worried about her personal safety.
Okay.
So, the police finally come. He's just, like, this one police officer, he's, like, checking in on this woman, and she's, like, screaming at him now because she's, like, how dare these stupid employees accuse me of stealing.
I mean, was she?
It was really obvious that she was, like, preparing to steal.
Okay.
But with the police officer being there, like, suddenly she's like, no, I'm a lifelong customer. And then you think this is it, right? You're like, okay, this is crazy enough. This second woman comes into the store, and she is obliterated.
Drunk?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Like, I want to say blacked out.
Okay.
She comes in the store, she passes out in the fitting rooms.
This is all in the same, like, 20-minute span.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And but now at this point, like, the store is closed. So, like, people are trying to leave the store while, like, one, witnessing this crazy lady screaming and throwing everything. Another, like, and also, like, seeing this woman, like, passed out, like, fully on the ground. And I'm like, this can't get any worse, right? So I, like, go up to this, like, drunk woman. I'm like, you need to go. Like, I'm sorry, but it's past the time that we're
closing
closed.
Time.
Right. And she's like, it is my right as a citizen to be here.
I don't think it is.
And I'm like, it is, no. Like,
Isn't that like what's that one part of the Constitution where like you don't have to house a soldier or something?
Right, like the
that.
Second Amendment.
That's the gun one.
No. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
One. There's one where it's like you don't have to quarter somebody.
Right.
That's like, lady, read the Constitution.
Right. Exactly.
I don't have to take you in.
So I'm like dealing with that. The crazy lady finally like leaves, and like we're trying to create a witness report for the police officer. The drunk lady finally leaves, and she's like staring at my male coworkers, and she's like stroking their faces and being like, "You're so handsome."
Oh, she's gonna seduce her way out of this.
Yeah, I'm like, "You need to leave," and she just stares at the rest of us and just starts like cackling. And I was like, are we about to like be placed under a spell?
Is this like a skinwalker? Like,
yeah, no, literally. Like, are we
person?
being like hexed? And she eventually like wheels her and her suitcase out of the way. I don't think I mentioned this, but she walked in with the suitcase. And it's like,
wait, this is the woman that's blacked out.
Yeah.
She's like, what, this isn't the airport?
Yeah, and it's like, I want to like make it clear too, it's not just like a little carry-on, it's like a whole ass like checked bag.
She was like, which way to baggage?
Yeah.
She probably thought the cops were the TSA.
Yeah, I'm like so close. This is in fact a clothing store.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So when the store is closed, we're like, that's it, right? Hear a banging on the door. It's the first lady from before. She's trying to come back in so she can like buy her shit. The police officer's like, no, you need to leave. So just like after all that, it's finally like a half hour after we had closed, and we're like, yeah, fuck this. So we just left early. Like no boxes were unpacked. Like the store wasn't cleaned up. I was just like, we need to leave.
Did you ever open? Was like, who closed last night?
Yeah, absolutely.
What happened?
I think it was me that opened the next day,
All right,
and like
well then,
people were like, "What the fuck happened last night?" And I was like, "Don't ask me anything." Like, do not.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Ask someone else.
That suitcase would kill me the most.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So now anytime like, well, and also like. Sometimes people like come in with suitcases and just like stuff it with product and then like wheel the little suitcase.
But she wasn't even doing that.
No,
she just did it for the love of the game.
Yeah,
she was like, I have my items, I'm ready to fly.
So now anytime someone comes with a suitcase, I'm like, are you gonna steal or are you gonna be like fucked up right now trying to like take a nap in our fitting room?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, I've learned a lot about how to steal from your store and how to make you guys as angry and bitter as possible.
Perfect. So yeah, I
want to thank you for. Yeah, I'm gonna come steal. It's gonna be. I'll come by and steal sometime because I know you probably can't arrest me.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for coming on. I learned a lot about retail. And I hope everyone's learned to be a little bit nicer to you guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Employed People. I have some very interesting guests coming up on the show very soon, so stay tuned. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll see you on the next one.